Welcome in again, everybody, to the Auburn Undercover podcast. Special edition today. We've got my longtime friend and future Alabama Senator, Paul Finebaum.
Ronnie, thank you very much for the introduction. It's I miss being on. It's always really cool during the season to talk Auburn football.
Well, you've only been talking it 40 years now. So.
Yeah, I got to Auburn as Pat Dye was arriving. If that helps you with the context, a little bit more than 40.
Talk about the difference in Auburn football now versus Auburn football then.
Well, I mean, Auburn football has had a number of peaks and valleys, but to me, the one thing about Auburn that has always been consistent is there's been an expectation to play for championships, a realization that sometimes that's not possible, but Auburn people have always been unique, that they feel, and this is going to sound like I'm talking about a high school football team here, but if Auburn people feel like you've done everything you can and you lose, they can accept that within reason. They're not like some fan bases where it's title or bust. There's an appreciation of the process. And I think I say all that as a preamble to the current moment in time where in terms of what we're seeing on the field, it's suboptimal. It's below par. It's not what this is a phrase I've never used before in talking about Auburn. It's not what Auburn people are paying for. And that's from the coaching staff to the players. Having said all that, I have never, in all the years I've covered college football, seen a program more vulnerable to unimaginable calls than we have seen this year. I want to get this out of the way, Ronnie, because we all know about the Oklahoma game. The Georgia game was the same. I will say it until my final breath, which might be soon, by the way, that had that call been played correctly, Auburn would have gone up 17-0 and would have won the game. And I doubt you would have had me on the podcast today.
Well, how do you, if you're an athletic director and you've got a coach who has won, I'll pull it up here in a minute, 40-something% of his games, but he inherited a dumpster fire of monumental proportions from a guy who never should have been hired. But they've lost game after game after game that they should have won. Now, the officiating has cost them certainly 2 games this year. How do you reconcile those things before you decide, okay, I'm going to make a change or I'm not going to make a change?
Well, I think the first thing you do is you don't go around talking about where you are. Auburn fans don't need to hear Hugh Freeze getting a vote of confidence from John Cone. That doesn't mean anything. Nobody believes that. So I'm not really sure I understood the interview he did this week, but it didn't change anything. What will change things is winning on the field, and that's this Saturday. In terms of the bad calls, I said what I did to say this. It's over, Ronnie. It doesn't matter. You can't go to court to change the outcome. And that's the hard part for Hugh Freeze. He can only affect people by winning and by handling things in the right way. And that's really, he hasn't done either one very well. He hasn't won, and he doesn't handle things very well. And that hurts because people want to look up there and see a leader. They want to see someone they believe in. And it's very hard to believe in him right now.
To me, it looks like, growing up and watching Dye's teams and Terry Bowden's teams, even Malzahn and Chizik with Cam, I mean, those teams had an edge. It just kind of looks like, I don't want to beat Freeze up, but it kind of just looks like they find ways to, I think he hit it in his press conference. They find ways to lose games.
Yeah. That's not what you pay for. And that's not what Auburn fans deserve. Auburn fans deserve a team that's in contention. I mean, the atmosphere Saturday night was as good as I've ever seen it. And I've been in that stadium like you have many, many times. Mm-hmm. And it was just a wasted opportunity. And in this season, there's only one more like that. And that's the final game. And, all the wins over Missouri and Vanderbilt and I don't even know Kentucky. Who cares, really? That's not going to matter. You're defined as an Auburn coach by how you do in 2 games every year. And so far, Hugh Freeze has struck out. It doesn't matter what happened on 4th and 32. It doesn't matter that Brock Bowers caught a winning touchdown pass 2 years ago. None of that matters. It doesn't matter that you could have had a 17-0 lead. You didn't. I've never seen anyone who mastered the art of losing better than Hugh Freeze. And that is going to get him fired if he's not careful.
Well, if you remember, and this is a long time ago, but I'm sure you remember, 2004, when I was at Florida, there were a number of bad calls in the Tennessee game. They ended up kicking, right around a 50-yard field goal to win the game at the end. And reality is, it probably cost us our jobs. We lost to Mississippi State, but it started with the Tennessee game, and you've got to be able to hold it in the road. And the thing to me is, when you come out in the second half, it was almost like the air, it was gone. The air was out of the balloon. And at some point, if you've got the kind of home field advantage that Auburn has, you've got to start taking advantage of it.
Yeah. Listen, we can debate maybe in May one day when we have less to do, who has the best home field advantage in the country, but Auburn is in the conversation. and whether the Cam Newton, that's a piece of the puzzle, but you didn't need Cam Newton Saturday night for that to be a great atmosphere. That was going to be the best atmosphere in college football on Saturday night with Cam or Ronnie Brown or Joe Cribbs or anybody else. It didn't make any difference. That's a special game. When I was a sports writer early in my career, the Georgia game was 2. You had the Georgia game in mid-November, and then you had the bye week, and then you had the Iron Bowl. And I swear the Georgia game was my favorite game of the year, Ronnie, because there was just so much about it. Everybody at Auburn at the time had graduated from Georgia, and everybody at Georgia had graduated from Auburn. It was the craziest thing. You had Vince Dooley, an Auburn quarterback, versus Pat Dye, a Georgia lineman. And it was special. And it was always special, and it still is. And you lose that game. And so so I guess the question now becomes, what is Hugh Freeze's path back? Well, it starts with Missouri, okay? I was in Missouri last weekend. They're good. They are beatable, though. Mm-hmm. And, what happens if Auburn doesn't beat Missouri?
Well, you look at the back half of the schedule, which I've got pulled up here. The back half of the schedule is much more manageable than the front half. The question is, look, if you go beat Missouri, then you've got at Arkansas, which is never an easy out. You've got Kentucky, who's terrible. You've got at Vandy, which is, again, no longer an easy out. Who knows? Mercer, and then Alabama. And history shows that no matter how bad Auburn is, they got a shot in that game in Jordan-Hare.
Yeah. So, yesterday was the first time on our show that the question started being asked, is Hugh Freeze close to the end? And that's the one thing you don't want as a coach. You don't want every Saturday to be a referendum on you. And I'm not one of those guys, Ronnie, that says, I like Hugh Freeze, but we all know. We hear that every day. I do like him. I think he was a very good choice. I think he's done the absolute minimum at Auburn to endear himself to the fan base, but he can still survive. He has a path forward, and he's got to run this table. He can't screw up, and roll the dice later in the season. And it's not impossible to do, but there are some very bad signs in the program that your subscribers on message boards and in various interviews are worried about, and that's fair. I mentioned John Cohn a minute ago. I like John. I think he's done a good job as the athletic director. Does it really help when the athletic director says we're not expecting to make a change? What does that mean? You think Penn State was expecting to make a change 3 weeks ago? No. But the Penn State issue should worry Hugh Freeze. And why is that? Because the situations are similar. Big time program, all in, got the defensive coordinator you wanted, got the players you wanted, got the quarterback you wanted, and no results. They paid $49 million to get rid of James Franklin.
Mm-hmm.
You and I both know there's plenty of money if the powers that be decide Hugh Freeze has to go.
Yep. Well, and the other thing is, I think that Auburn people also need to take into account there's going to be, look, if you lose to Missouri, it's going to get really hot. We all know. But with the number of jobs open, you've got Penn State, you're going to have Florida. You've got a ton of jobs across the country that are going to open. Is this the environment where Auburn wants to be looking for a coach?
No, it is not. It was much better 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, whenever Lane Kiffin was down to the 1 yard line before somebody fumbled. But that you can't let the environment dictate what you want to do. You have to base that more on where you are with your program, and that's the hard part. Hugh Freeze had a bad offseason. He had one good day this year, and that was the night he beat Baylor. All the bad news went out the window. But since then, it's just a continuum. And you know, I heard you on local radio this morning. I mean, the questions were pretty tough. I've heard the callers, and the questions continue. But none of that matters if you win. Those things. The only thing that determines Hugh Freeze's future now is what the results are on the football field, not whether his captain gets kicked off the team, not what his AD says, not what some booster says, not what some talk show hosts like you or me say. It's what the results are, and are they enough to make fans feel comfortable? And the answer to that question is there is no answer. And you didn't hear John Cohn in that interview be declarative. I mean, he's I don't even remember what he said, because I'm not sure I got very far in the interview, because it was just somebody doing what they always do. Nothing. I mean, what good does that do?
Well, none. As you know, I mean, you've been doing this long enough to know that. And frankly, if somebody gives you a vote of confidence, that's typically not a good thing. But
No.
You know, I've got since Shug Jordan. Let's kind of go through this. I want to get your thoughts, because you've been around a while. Shug Jordan, almost 68% of his games. Doug Barfield, 54%. Pat Dyes at 71. Terry Bowden at 73. Tuberville, 68. Chiswick, 63. Malzahn, 66. Brian Harsin, 43. And Hugh Freeze, 44% of his games. He inherited a mess, but if you look at the number of games, close games they've lost over the past 3 years, I'm not sure if Hugh Freeze is the guy or not, but it's getting time for him to start. If he is the guy, it's time for him to start showing it.
Ronnie, in those numbers are not even worth commenting on. They're so bad, but I want to just offer one thing. And I was at Auburn about a year ago, and John Cohn gave me the litany of what he inherited. What Hugh Freeze inherited no longer matters. In today's world, you can replenish your roster very quickly, and he has. And there's not much he hasn't been given by the people that support and love this program. I don't want to just say, hey, look at Indiana, but look at Indiana. Mm-hmm. That program turned around overnight, and is now one of the top 3 programs in the country. Hard to believe, but it's true. So you have to judge Hugh Freeze on what he is doing today, and not what happened 3 years ago. And I really don't want to hear anybody. I'm not chastising you, but Brian Harsin is ancient history. Yeah. And Hugh Freeze will be ancient history pretty soon if we keep talking about what he inherited.
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind, and I agree with you on Indiana, but I'm looking at Indiana's schedule. They've played they play 2 ranked teams all year. No. So, they've beaten Illinois, they've beaten Oregon, which is a great win.
No, better than anything Auburn has.
Their next, they've got Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue left. So they'll probably go undefeated. Let's talk a little bit about the conference. What do you think of Alabama?
I think they're incredibly good right now. well. But I also would have told you 7 weeks ago that the program was in shambles. But that's how quickly things change. And that's why when you do what we do, you end up eating your words a lot of times. And for Auburn's sake, I hope Auburn can get it together and somebody will point out, man, you guys sure were negative in the middle of October. That's fine. No big deal. We the best part about our industry, Ronnie, is we talk about what's happening today. We're not soothsayers. And Alabama is the best team in the SEC right now. Ole Miss is very good as well. And after that, it is a mystery. Who is LSU? Who is Oklahoma? Texas? Tennessee? I mean, there's just so many enigmas right now. And the concern I have, and yeah, I mean, I'm a flag waving SEC member, is the league may not at the moment be good enough to win a national championship. And if it doesn't, heaven help us, especially if it's the Big Ten again, because there's a lot at stake this year for the conference.
You look around the conference. I mean, I think you're right. Alabama's playing as well as anybody. I'm not sure we know what LSU is. Talk about Billy Napier a little bit. When does the Band-Aid get pulled off that?
Yeah, somebody sent me a video today of my interview with Scott Strickland in late May at Destin, and he was doubling down on how great Napier survived last year, how well he did, and what a really good decision it was to continue with him. Have you seen an interview with Scott Strickland lately? I haven't. I mean, Billy Napier is going to be fired. I mean, that is not a mystery. Hugh Freeze's future is up in the air. Billy Napier's is not. He's already got 4 losses. He still has Georgia, Florida State. I think he has Ole Miss, doesn't he?
I believe so. I can pull it up.
Yeah, he's I mean, everyone. I mean, I don't see any path for him. It's just a matter of when, not if.
I'm pulling up their schedule here to see who they have left. They've got their 2025 schedule. They have beaten. I'm sorry. Let's see. You've got Mississippi State this week. You got Georgia, Kentucky, Ole Miss, Tennessee.
Yeah, it's
pretty much over.
Yeah, it's over.
No. Kentucky.
Really sad because you know how tough it is to win at Kentucky. And a couple of years ago, Mark Stoops had done the unthinkable. He had a couple of 10-win seasons. That program was really at a high level. It feels like the bottom has fallen out. He's got a $30 million buyout that nobody wants to pay. So I think Kentucky right now is stuck with him.
Yeah, you look around the conference. I mean, if Kentucky were to make a change, I mean, you could have as many as 4, maybe 5 openings in the conference. I mean, I'm not sure.
You could have even more than that because there's a chance that somebody within the conference could leave for another job. So last year there was no movement. This will be the wildest coaching carousel we've ever seen.
It will be, absolutely. I mean, 30 plus jobs easy. And Clark
was an agent.
I know, right? I may leave that job and go take another one, but
I got one for you, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I'll leave it at that. What about Kiffin? Is there a chance he goes to Florida?
I think so. I mean, for all the documentaries that have been shown that says Lane Kiffin needs Ole Miss more than they need him, he's still Lane Kiffin, and he's always looking around. And I think I was talking to Steve Spurrier about 2 weeks ago, and he said something about Kiffin. I said, Kiffin grew up admiring you and wanting to be you. And he said, I didn't really know that. I said, well, where do you think the visor came from? And it's true. And does that mean he can leave Ole Miss to go there? I don't know. I mean, he's got family ties in Oxford, and that matters. Kiffin's no longer a 35-year-old crazy coach. He's 50. He settled down a little bit. But he will be high on that list.
If you're Kiffin, can you, and I know the answer to this, and I think you probably do too, or I know you do. If you're sitting there, family ties aside, and you've got Ole Miss and Florida on a plate, where do you go?
I think you just have to kind of get to the end of the season. So one thing that I think is really important in coaching searches right now, I know the portal has moved back a little bit, but the regular season ends for most people Thanksgiving weekend. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the playoffs, it doesn't. You're stuck. I mean, you're not out of it. Minimum December 20th, maybe New Year's, maybe January 10th. And can you afford to bring in a coach? I mean, we watched with Kalen DeBoer what he lost because Saban was in the playoffs that year and didn't retire until January 10th. I mean, they lost Caleb Downs, the best defensive player in the country. They lost Julian Sayin, who may be one of the top quarterbacks. They lost a couple of other players as well. So that is a real issue if you're any of these schools and you're looking at a coach who could very well be in the playoffs.
What do you make of, and we talked about it a little bit, but what do you make of the James Franklin firing? And, I had heard, he and the AD had been at odds for a while, quite a long time. And obviously not being able to win against any ranked team is an issue. But you look at his overall record. I mean, I believe he'd won prior to this year. I think he'd won 34 games the previous 3 years.
Listen, this is a guy that had a 10-point lead in the national semifinals. That was on January. That was either New Year's Eve I think it was New Year's Eve. So that wasn't long ago. And I mean, what really got him, and this is where Auburn fans need to pay attention, is that he got everything he wanted. I was on countless ESPN shows, Ronnie, where somebody like Heather Dinich would say, nobody has a better roster than Penn State. Nobody had an easier schedule than Penn State. I mean, their 3 non-conference were Villanova, Nevada, and Florida International. They had a road schedule at Ohio State, but a home game against Oregon. That was it. I mean, they were going to have to work hard to be 10-2, and we saw what happened. So I think it just, whether it's the Adidas money, I don't know what it was, but I mean, I'm talking about on the field. I mean, off the field, Penn State had retired the trophy when it comes to, absolute disasters. But I've never seen anything like this before. You haven't either. Nobody has. So, I mean, it got away from him. And in today's media world, I remember you would give a coach a couple of years. Now you basically give them a couple of games.
Yeah. Brian Kelly.
He's in a very awkward spot because I talk to him every week, and I talked to him Monday this week, and he said Nussmeier's doing better, is moving past the injury, but they still can't generate anything on offense. It's a good thing to have one of the best defenses in the country, because other than that, they would be in trouble. And the fact that LSU is an underdog at Vanderbilt blows me away. Not that matters, but it just shows you a perception.
It's really remarkable. I mean, it's Clark Lee deserves a lot of credit.
Yeah.
And he'll probably go out and get a job if he wants one.
I would think so.
Especially when you look at the number of openings that they're going to be this year. What do you think about the job that you look around at people that may have a chance to leave. You're looking at, Clark Lee. What about Eli Drinkwitz? I mean, I think that's the other thing. It took him a little bit to get it going up there. But also Missouri's not Auburn either.
Now, I've been to Missouri twice in 6 weeks, so I feel comfortable in being an expert. He has done a fantastic job, and I don't have any doubt that he will leave Missouri to take one of these jobs. He's attractive. He's personable. Mm-hmm. He has great credentials. So, and I think he's also he's pretty much taken Missouri about as high as you can take them. They beat Ohio State 2 years ago in a bowl game. They've beaten some good teams. He made the right decision to quit. He got Penn State's backup quarterback. Missouri did a lot better than Penn State.
Absolutely. It looks like Tennessee in that swap didn't do very bad either. I mean, it looks like they did pretty well.
No, Tennessee did great. That's a program that kind of just is at the precipice of the top tier, and can they get over it?
How do you see the Tennessee Alabama this weekend?
I mean, I'll try to spare you a bunch of cliches, but it would really be hard for me to go against Alabama right now. They have so much momentum, and Ty Simpson is playing so well that I would tend to lean toward them. Tennessee has struggled on the road. They struggled they struggled in almost every game. Quite frankly, they barely, they should have beaten Georgia. They didn't. They survived Mississippi State. They survived Arkansas. But what we saw with Tennessee, Arkansas, is pretty much what we're seeing every weekend.
Who does Arkansas hire? I mean, is Petrino? I mean, he's already coached twice at Louisville. Is there another return in the cards?
I mean, he didn't hurt himself the other day. If he could win a couple of home games, which I think he can, I think he would get the job.
There are a lot of people, let's talk a little bit about, you and I like to talk about coaching jobs. So Jimbo Fisher is trying to get back in. I hear that he's been making calls around Auburn, which doesn't surprise me. I hear he's been, talking a little bit to some Virginia Tech boosters. Where do you see him getting back in? I know, he interviewed at West Virginia last year, and from everything I'm told, it did not go very well. Do you see him getting back in?
Well, Ronnie, first of all, you work for Jimbo Fisher, so you can understand why it might not go well.
Yeah.
I think he would be a good choice somewhere. I firmly believe that. He's a good coach. He just kind of got in he got overwhelmed at A&M, but he's still a very good coach. And when you can introduce a coach as a former national champion, it matters some places. It may not matter everywhere, but it's a pretty big resume grabber. And I think Jimbo Fisher is intriguing. I think Dan Mullen will be fascinating to watch. He's shut a lot of people up this year, and the fact that his former program has done so poorly, those are names. I mean, everyone brings up Ogeron. I'm just not convinced that he can overcome everything. But I think Jimbo is a surefire. And Jimbo's doing the quarterback club circuit. He's doing TV. That's what you have to do.
And it looks like he's lost some weight and seems to be feeling pretty good. And he got a new eye. Of course, he's not really new anymore, but I mean, he's it just got away from him at the end at Florida State. Got away from him at A&M. But I'm like you. Look, he's a great recruiter. He is, and hopefully he's learned from those mistakes.
I think listen, I'm hot and cold with him, but I think he would be a good choice for the right school.
Before we let you go, make a prediction on Hugh Freeze. Where does this end up?
I think he has a narrow path to succeed, Ronnie. It starts Saturday. I think he has to manage the road in games like Arkansas. I mean, I think I'm not saying he can't afford another loss somewhere. And then, what is he? I mean, right now he has 3 losses?
3-3.
I mean, it's hard for me to believe that if he gets to Alabama and loses that game, that Auburn will fire an 8-4 coach. You tell me. It seems a little bit premature.
No, I agree completely. I just think you've got to, if you look at the rest of the schedule, it is manageable. If you beat Missouri this weekend, all of a sudden it doesn't look all that daunting. I mean, your toughest game remaining outside of Alabama is Vandy.
I don't think 7-5 with a loss to Alabama is going to help him, though. To me, that is literally on the cut line, and it could very well depend on the market, what's going on. But I'll sound like a caller to the Finebaum show. But if he loses this weekend, watch out. I think it will become very toxic very quickly.
And Auburn fans can get that way. And look, And
They
some
should.
people,
By the way, I'm all for fans, being heard. I've made a living out of that, and I mean, Auburn fans are the most loyal fans in the world. I mean, they love their program, but they have every right to speak out if their coach is underwhelming.
it's pretty amazing to me that programs with as deep a history and as storied a history as Florida and Auburn have been as bad as they have been for as long as they've been. And a place like Ole Miss is going out and winning 10 games every year in Missouri.
There's no excuse for it. And the one thing that I think, and I base this on what I hear from people, because I recently just came back to the state, is that I think the Auburn administration is aligned better today than it has been in a very long time.
40 years.
President, I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, Auburn had a president that just was a disaster. I think we can agree on that.
Yes.
It had athletic directors that probably should have never been there. I think Cohen is a very good athletic director. I think everything is aligned well. And I think that is helpful for Hugh Freeze if he can navigate the murky waters. But I think Auburn fans deserve much better than they're getting, though. I think Auburn fans deserve a quality program, and they don't have a quality program right now. There's no excuse for a 3-year record to be under 60%, forget 50%. And it's inexcusable. So I say that, saying that Hugh Freeze does have a path, but it's extremely narrow. And I don't, even though I've harped on Alabama, Georgia, I think if he can get to that game without losing again and play a competitive game, then I think he probably survives. But if he drops a game to Vanderbilt or to Missouri, and then lets that game get away, then I think there'll be a lot of smoke-filled rooms Thanksgiving weekend.
Well, I agree with you. I think that, look, if he gets to 7-5 and beats Alabama, or is competitive with Alabama, maybe.
Yeah.
If you get to Alabama and you get blown out at home, it won't be good.
No. And listen, it's simple. That won't work. So I think it would be foolish to say he doesn't have a chance.
Well, appreciate you being with us. I'll let you get back to your campaign.
Thank you. Thank you, Ronnie. Always great.
Good to be with you. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.